you, but I know that we've got Paul Norman from Bell Integration. He's now just joined us and he's going to talk to us about IoT. Paul, thank you for coming on.
Alex, how's it going?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
Not too bad, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your role, Paul.
So I am an account director within Bell Integration. I'm responsible for an account. One of the key features in that account is promoting IoT. They are a mobile operator, and IoT is a key strategy for them, both, across all their business units. And as part of my role is to drive that across all their operating businesses within the UK and also at group level.
So what have you noticed in the world of digital transformation and IoT since all of this pandemic started?
One thing that's really come to the fore is that a lot of companies are now looking to IoT as a key part of that digital transformation. Because of the current pandemic that we're in today, is that when people look at digital transformation, they are looking at quick returns, fast results. And that really is where IoT comes into its own. The ability to take IoT, deploy, and see an ROI in less than 12 months is a key part of the product strategy. And you think about, what IoT can deliver. You look at digital transformation, a lot of people looking at for the digitization of what you would see as a paper-driven, paper process, human-centric delivery of X. And the ability for IoT to replace that enables companies to, find efficiency, find cost savings, and really realize what digital transformation can mean to them.
So what does it mean to them? What are the key components to ensure that they have an IoT program going forward?
I think the key for them is going to be what problem does it solve? I think that's the key one. I think if you look at IoT, look at digital transformation, everybody's talking about it, everybody's looking to embrace it, but actually they're sort of scratching their head on, okay, I get IoT, but what's it going to do for me? So I think it's identifying the problem it's going to solve. Simplicity. So how easy and simple is it to deploy? Again, IoT is an interesting market because it can be quite, contradictory. I've seen solutions out there that talk about, we can drive efficiency and we can drive cost savings. All you have to do is give us several £100,000 up front and we'll do it for you. And it's like, well, that sort of defeats the object of IoT. So that's simplicity. And I think also it's the platform is key. So the platform that delivers, the contextualized data, the data flow, the data analytics is also very important because with IoT, because it can bring me instant information with either a process or an event, I may say, well, actually, I need to see that in graphical format. I may now need to look at how can I deliver this graphical information in different form factors and sets across my entire business. Do sales need to know? Do marketing need to know? Does human resources need to know? What information do they want to receive and how do they want to receive it? And again, the platform is key for that. But the ultimate one is ROI. I mean, as I mentioned before, some solutions out there today have fantastic stories, but cost several £100,000 to deploy. So the ROI is 2 years plus. That's not IoT. We see IoT as an ROI in less than 12 months. And I think they're the key.
Quick turnaround.
And I think that's the benefit of IoT. But I think when people look at IoT as a solution and as a product, that's the sort of ROI return they're looking at, timescales. It has to be very quick.
I mean, you say simplicity, which it doesn't sound like it's super simplistic because it covers up so many of the industry and the company that you're working for doing lots of different areas. When you talk about simplicity and you mention all of these areas that it covers, is it not blow people's minds sometimes that it can do all of these things, yet it is simple to integrate?
Actually, that's a great point. It is. I mean, I think the great terminology these days is boil the ocean. And people use that a lot in discussions. And I think that people look at IoT and it is. They look and go, my God, it can do everything, but how do I start? And I think the beauty, what we're working, my customer I'm working with now, is looking at IoT as a building block. So what's the problem you need to solve today? Can I take IoT and come up with a solution that delivers everything that you need? It has the right IoT. But in selecting the platform and the capabilities, have I created a building block that says, right, today, you may want to do temperature and CO2 management and monitoring. You may want to do noise. You may want to do fire. You may want to do. Can I actually keep adding the sensors into my business? It all comes into the same platform, and it continues to deliver that graphical data analytics that I'm looking for. And so to me, I think that's the beauty of what we're looking to do is to keep it simple, create building blocks so people can use IoT to build out, to deliver that wider company solution without trying to get their head around some behemoth of a product offering, which is going to be, my God, how are we going to do this? I now need to go and hire 500 people in my IT department to deliver this, which again is not what IoT is all about. It's simplicity, and we see it as a building block. And it really is starting with what's the key thing today that I need to solve? Right, okay, here's a solution. Okay, but tomorrow I may need this. Absolutely. Here's the journey of how you take this IoT solution and build it out to your nirvana of your company requirement.
So then it's an evolutionary process then. If someone wants to start something very small, for example, you can then build on top of that?
Absolutely. And you know, when we talk to companies and they're looking at IoT, it normally is, well, actually, my key problem today is, especially if you're looking at the COVID-19, the impact of that is, okay, so how do I make sure that I am compliant with the management and monitoring of my washrooms? So how do I do that? Okay, well, we can have a simple IoT, which could be just footfall counting. So when you get 20 people in, an alert goes to housekeeping and they go and clean the toilets. There, you may find, okay, well, what about if the soap dispenser goes down? Again, you can have simple IoT solutions that deliver fixes that problem for that customer, and then they say, well, actually, I'm concerned about social distancing from my work in the workplace for around the cafeteria. Can I take the same concept and deliver that on the same platform? Absolutely. So it's that building, a building block and methodology is what we've adopted, and I think that's the way that companies are going to go. They're going to have a problem that they're going to solve today, but actually then they think, well, hold on a minute, I've got this problem today, but then I may have this problem tomorrow and the day after. How do I build out on that? And we can show them the roadmap of how they can achieve that.
In a crazy, weird way. I mean, this pandemic has shown what you can do. I've noticed on your website you have a very step-by-step guide about how IoT can help with COVID, making sure temperatures are checked and everything. Have you found that you've actually got a bit of a push, to make sure that people can see what you're doing more on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, I think it's we're living in quite a dynamic world today, which is really driven by COVID-19, where people are trying to get back to work, so they're working on solutions today. There is a spike somewhere, the government comes out with something else, and so oh my God, we need to have another solution. And so as part of our products we're launching out, is we're trying to cover as many of the key bases that are required around return to work, which is around temperature screening. It's around track and trace of people into a facility. And again, we're sort of looking to build those solutions. We've actually even looked at innovation to help people going forward with track and trace, and that is with contactless visitor book. One thing that we've found out from talking to whether you're a hotel chain, whether you're the NHS, whether you're a private medical chain that has a large number of dental surgeries, the old way of signing in with a pen, touching a screen, something everybody's done 10,000 times in their working life. Actually now, with COVID-19, it's like, well, actually you can't do that. You can't have a touch screen that 50 people come in and go and touch. So how do we get around that? Well, we've launched a product with a contactless visitor book. It's QR code driven. I could send you an invite. In that invite would be the QR code. You would arrive, you'd zap your QR code, and there'd be a completely automated process around your arrival and our meeting. You can do it for deliveries, for example. So, for example, if you are delivering to a hospital, the hospital may say, well, actually, no, we don't have any touch screens. We don't have any sign-in. We'll confirm your delivery schedule. You confirm it to us. We'll then send you a QR code. You will arrive with your goods. You'll zap the QR code. You'll then be told to go to bay 3, wherever it is. You will offload. You will then leave. And at no point in time, if you had to sign a piece of paper or you've had to touch, tap a screen, which is, potentially, if you think about how many people could do that if you're trying to, maintain compliance and reduce the risk of, COVID-19. Again, that's the type of innovations we've been doing to help businesses get back to work. And it's certainly making them think about, how do I get around this problem? Well, actually, here's a way of getting around it.
Do you think that it's a little bit scary, isn't it, sometimes for some people, that having to have no human interaction, they have to everything via their phones or their apps, and then having their digital life right there in the open? When you come across companies who are maybe a little bit wary about fully embracing this whole new ecosystem, what would you say to them about how to make sure that they are at the forefront of these digital transformations?
Well, the key, everyone worries about GDPR compliance. That's the big thing, and so our ethos around, for example, look at the Contacts Business Book, is making sure that we are GDPR compliant, so they can embrace that technology, knowing that they're not infringing, the compliance. And I'll give you a great example of that. So we're working with a chain of a pub chain. And now, obviously, people have to go to that pub chain and they have to book. So when they go online and they book, they then get a QR code. You download that onto your phone. You arrive at the reception area. We have a screen that will then measure your temperature. You look at the screen, somebody stand there, go, absolutely fantastic. You zap your QR code. Mr. Sands, you are on table 4. You go to table 4 and you order your drinks. So you've got human interaction. It's still reasonably busy, but actually during that process, you haven't had to touch anything, sign anything in. Been exposed to areas where that may not have been cleaned or other people have used. So it's a different world. It definitely is a different world, and I guess that driving that innovation around IoT is key to that, because we have to adapt. And we have to be, the ability to launch new solutions based on adapting to those changing markets and demands.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to bring Stephen on this one as well, because I think it's really interesting that you're saying, Paul, about using QR codes and also making sure that you're GDPR efficient, compliant. Stephen, what do you think about making like an integration between IoT and the services they provide, integration, and AI managed services? Because ultimately there is a crossover there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a huge crossover. So absolutely, everything Paul has said is absolutely right. And the end result of whatever the IoT devices are giving can absolutely be automated, right? So if we have, for one example, so we have a sensor on public toilets, and it's sensing how many people are coming in and out. And then when it gets to a point where it needs to organize a cleaner, well, that can all be automated on the back end. We can go into cleaners' diaries, whatever company you're looking at, into a diary, get it booked, let the company know that that service has been booked. There are multiple different ways automation sits in with IoT, and it works seamlessly, and you get really, really powerful solutions that provide a great service to wherever they are, wherever they're sat within whatever business. So yeah, that is massive, and that is something that Paul and myself and a few others within Bell are working on. Paul is leading the charge on that side, on the IoT, and I'm definitely leading the charge on the AI and automation side. But those two worlds do collide in quite a great way.
I can imagine as well, like the evolution as we keep moving forward. And Paul, do you think, one controversial question, do you think that the UK has enough connectivity to be able to do some of the amazing things that you're suggesting?
I think it has, yes. I think as we go through 2020 and we move into 2021, I think the mobile operators are going to be key to the rollout of our IoT, just because of their coverage. If you look at the IoT ecosystem that we're building, we have our strategies to make sure that we cover all the different connectivity requirements, whether that's LoRaWAN or Sigfox, but more importantly around 5G and LTE-M, which is a low-powered LTE solution, to actually give everybody the connectivity they need. Because with IoT, potentially you could be doing something in the Highlands of Scotland. It could be doing something in the southwest, and you think if you want to have the ability to just do a countrywide coverage, probably the mobile operators are going to be pretty important in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, as you rightly say, it's not just going to be something that you can turn on and turn off as you go up and down the country. And Steve, we're talking about there, that connectivity with that changing the IoT to make it more of a managed service without having to get people on the lower end. Do you see that something that eventually we won't need to have as much human interaction?
I think there'll always be an element of human in there, but I don't see why the majority of it couldn't be automated and couldn't be managed by a company like Bell. Absolutely. The premise is, automate once, automate forever. But there's always still, there are still humans sat behind that, making sure that everything is still running. Automation isn't 100%, prone to failure. Sometimes it does fail. So you do need escalation as and when you need it. And that's something that Bell, are able to absolutely provide. We can be that escalation service for you. We can do the monitoring of the IoT devices, all those different things. And again, something, myself and Paula are working on to try and see how those two sides really fit together and how we can bring that service to the market and really give our clients the best solution for them.
And Paul, do you think that IoT will ever come to a point where you've covered everything and you can tick off all the boxes?
No, because I'm sure that what IoT will lead to is people asking for more. You've done all these things. Can it do that? Well, hold on a minute, and then you'll need to, there'll be an evolution to another point. So I think it's the beauty of IoT is it can do so much. And as I mentioned before, you had the building blocks and the capability to grow with the business. But then the business will change, their strategy will change, their product will change, the market environment will change, and IoT will need to change with it. So I think it's, as you said before, it's an evolution, and it's always, we're in a dynamic world, and I think IoT is great to be part of that, but it's always going to change.
I'm excited about what's going to happen in the next few months, let alone late to 2021. And thank you so much, both of you, for joining me today to talk about Bell Integration and what you're both doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Obviously, if you want to know more about managed services, automation, or you want us to talk about it more, then why don't you get in touch? It's The Andy Show, but we've also got a whole host of other ones. So come join us, find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and disruptive.live. Until next time, see you then.